Hey guys, it's Rufus. While most people peek far too much, most people also peek at the wrong times. You see, aggression isn't bad. In fact, I'm a pretty aggressive player and it works out very well for me. But that's because I can control my aggression, as I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, and I know when the best times to be aggressive are. First things first, it is important to realize that there are several different types of aggression. I'm making up these names, but we'll start with what I call random aggression. This is exactly what the name states, so this would be like randomly peeking or randomly going for plays even without intel or refrag. More often than not, random aggression ends up hurting you. But what if I told you that there are times when random aggression can work, and there's a way that you can reliably and consistently make this work? Now, note that when I mean consistently, I do not mean that you can consistently peek randomly and get kills. What I'm saying is that if you randomly get aggressive at the right time, it can win rounds. You can even consider pre-firing and quick peeks as random aggression. While most of the time they don't land you a kill, they can give intel, deal damage, or suppress the enemy. So here's how you put this into play. Let's say you're on theme park and the site is initiation and office. Now, what most attacking teams do on the site is get onto this balcony and take control of control room, dragon, and cache, so that they can continue pushing across the top floor. We call this the cache side push, but given that we're talking about theme park, it's basically the only push. Anyway, more often than not, teams will try to take control of office rather than initiation. Because of this, it's very common for the attackers to just watch control room with this hatch or with a drone, while everybody else is around dragon, cache, or this balcony. However, after a while, the attackers have to stop using this hatch and begin going for their execute. So in the late round, you can almost guarantee that control room won't be heavily contested by the attackers. With this idea in mind, you could take an opportunity and push into control room in order to go for a pick here. Now, that is a lot of information I just put out, but if you want to use random aggression effectively, you need to understand this game well. You're essentially relying on patterns, behaviors, the meta, and just general game knowledge in order to go for a pick. This type of play will also not work over and over. It's a one-time use per game. Another example is with hallways. If we pretend the attackers are still pushing from cache side, a lot of the time, they'll be far more focused on utility and taking control. Due to this, teams can sometimes forget to watch a certain angle. So let's say the attackers forget to watch this hallway. Well, first, how do you even know if they're watching this hallway? Throughout the round, you'll know if somebody's holding an angle or not. You can quick peek to check if anybody's holding this hallway, and if you notice that in either previous rounds or throughout the entire round, nobody has really been holding this hallway, then you can take the chance to push up and go for a play. This is a bit riskier, but once again, it relies on knowledge of the game and understanding what the enemies are doing without having that exact intel. And if this doesn't make sense to you, that's okay. Just try and look for openings and decide whether or not going for a play is ultimately going to be worth it or not. This is a bit of an advanced topic, so it's okay if it doesn't entirely make sense to you. Because even if you realize it or not, you're probably going to be using this aggression sometime throughout your Siege career. The next type of aggression is coordinated aggression, and luckily for you guys, it does not rely on game knowledge and it's a lot less complicated. Now, coordinated aggression is when you and a teammate, or even multiple teammates, decide to get aggressive in order to get a pick. The idea behind this type of aggression is much more simple because when you have two or more people charge into a single person, obviously that one person is going to get overwhelmed, and if your teammate dies, you can always secure the kill after him, so no matter what, you can basically guarantee yourself a trade or an advantage. One of the best parts about coordinated aggression is that all you really need is intel. If you're defending CCTV and cache on Clubhouse, the attackers will always open the CCTV wall. In addition, it's very common for people to play on this breach by either rappelling or sitting in this corner. So if you know that nobody's utilizing the CCTV window, you can have two people swing from both sides of the breach and go for a pick onto the player out on the platform. To some people, this just seems like a random risk, but I'll explain to you why it's not. First, if you have two people, you should be able to get the refrag 99% of the time. And second, when you do kill the person outside of breach, you temporarily regain a huge amount of control. Here's what I mean. If there is nobody outside of the CCTV wall, you can now play inside of CCTV despite the wall being opened. And this is huge and significantly improves the maneuverability of the defenders. The attackers will have to waste time in order to rotate a person over to the CCTV breach. And the problem with this is that the defenders could just rush that person as he tries to rappel up or down this wall. Overall, it's a bad situation to be in as the attackers. The third type of aggression is opportunistic aggression. This is the most important type to be good at because you're going to encounter it all of the time. When you see somebody who plays so passive that it's hurting them, more often than not, it's because they lack the courage to be aggressive when the opportunity arises. Let's go back to the last situation where the attacker watching CCTV on Rappel gets killed, and so now nobody is watching CCTV. Well, immediately you should be thinking of opportunity. What can you do with this control you just acquired? Well, you could peek outside of the breach, and doing this could catch an attacker off guard somewhere off in the distance, or you could use the CCTV window and either jump out in order to pre-fire any players in construction, or to simply just kill anybody out here. Whenever a sound is made, utility is destroyed, or a wall is opened, new opportunities arise while others are taken away. You just need to be able to adapt on the fly and use your current tools as they come and go. And lastly, just don't be afraid of risk, don't be afraid of dying, because after all, what's the worst that could happen, right? The final type of aggression is planned aggression. This is when you prepare or look for a certain play because you know the enemy won't be prepared for it. You can use information from the previous or current rounds and see if the other team has any openings. Are they super spaced out? When one thing happens, how does the other team react? These are some questions you can ask yourself when determining whether or not to go for a play. And that also might sound confusing because my explanation was a bit vague, but really it's just all about looking for an opportunity to get aggressive. And the way this is different from opportunistic aggression is that rather than acting on an opportunity immediately, you're waiting for that opportunity to come. And you're looking for that opening so that you can perform a certain play. With opportunistic aggression, nothing is planned. You're just acting on what you have on your disposal. Although planned aggression does have an element of randomness to it. On attack, you could be going for a rush. Or on defense, you could be keeping track of spawn points and see who moves where in order to utilize the best runouts and spawn peaks. Now you're also probably thinking, why are you spawn peeking and running out? Well, let me explain to you a strategy my last team used. This is mostly applicable to competitive, but you can analyze the enemy's behavior and make decisions based on that. Anyway, before a game, we would always know what maps we were going to play. So we'd prepare on those maps on the upcoming days before game day. One thing we did to prepare is look at the other team's spawn locations on attack. Frequently, teams spawned in the same locations, and so what we were able to do is utilize the best runouts against the team. However, jumping out can also be powerful if you utilize multiple people. At this point, we're getting into some of the more cheese strats, but they still do work. For example, if you're rappelling up this building on Cafe, you're always watching for a runout. However, if you're by yourself or with one other person, then a well-timed runout can entirely destroy your round. So here's something you can try. Have 2 or even 3 people jump out the same or different windows. Well, yes, this does sound stupid. It's similar to coordinated aggression. You may expect one person to jump out, but 2 or 3? There's simply just no way to prepare for it. And when that second person does come out, you've already used 15 to 30 bullets in your mag. So what do? Well, there's not much you can do. If you're in an extremely vulnerable position and multiple people jump out on you, you're dead, that's it. I don't suggest doing this all the time, but if you look out for it, it can work. And doing jump outs like this is really fun because it makes the other team so mad. Really, all planned aggression is just running through a plan with your team to go for a very aggressive play that you normally wouldn't do, but if you find the right opening for it, it can work out pretty well. Now, if you want to follow my Twitter, Discord, or Patreon, links will be in the description below, but that's all I have to say for this video. And if you learned something, give the video a like. And if you want to see more content like this, then subscribe. Toodles! Oh, and also, Merry fucking Christmas!